It's comp day, baby.
Wagwan. Myself and...
Wagwan General.
Bumbo Clat.
Bomba Clat. Rasta Clat.
Oh, Jamaicans are going crack.
I don't know, am I going through much or much is going through me?
You got any of that breadfruit?
May want the pan kill myself.
Today is competition day. We're here in Tipperary, not in Kingston, Jamaica.
Kingsdown.
So weight in there, official weight 98.2. So I have a little bit to go before I fill out this weight class.
A wank away from the 93s.
Yeah, that was all the shits I did this morning. I was actually 104 this morning before I woke up. But yeah, so we're all weighed in now. Kit check done, and we have about an hour and a half probably before I'm actually going to be stepping onto the platform. So just chilling in the car. We have had 2 meals so far today, 2 meals today, and 2 Rice Krispie squares, because I have the luxury of being so light in this weight class. I didn't have to worry whatsoever about like what I was eating, what I was drinking, and I could just stick to my usual routine with food. Because ultimately that's like going to be something that gives you confidence on meat days. If you can just stick to your usual food sources, you know they're going to digest well. You know, like when you have your usual pre-workout meal, that kind of sets off your mind that I'm getting ready to perform. So I just had some steak there with some rice and a bit of potatoes. Exact same meals I usually have. And yeah, we're feeling ready to rock. I flew in on Thursday, and when I flew in I had a cracking headache all of Thursday night, kind of yesterday too, so I wasn't feeling too I wasn't feeling the best yesterday, looking ahead to today, but feeling fresh today for the day that matters. So yeah, that's pretty much the extent of the update I have for you, to be honest. I'm just ready to do the business, ready to do my thing. I'll have a Diamond Dallas page behind the camera today, taking the clips for the YouTube.
Didi DePerio will be on doing the Quentin Tarantino duties, in fairness to him now. Yeah, that'll be a nice cameo from Dustin on the YouTube for you.
Yeah, well, hopefully he doesn't get any more incriminating footage onto my camera.
No,
even though, the FBI caught him with a lot of suspect footage on his cameras at home.
There is a shortage of Baby Island tip at the moment, though.
Alright, catch you on the platform. So we're now 2 weeks post competition, and we are going to run this meet vlog slightly differently, because on the day I don't like running around with a camera in my fucking hand, or even giving my handler a camera to like get videos of me in the warm room. I'm not doing anything terribly exciting in the warm room anyway. I'm getting into the zone, I'm listening to music, I am going through my mental preparation, and I'm really just trying to focus on the competition at hand, right? I compete because I enjoy competing. I want to perform my best, and I can't perform my best when I run around with a camera. Even the vlogs where I just get the camera out and I start recording my training and I'm thinking about things to say, it distracts me from those training sessions, and I don't want to have that happen on competition day. I want to be locked into the task and get the job done. I've got some clips here from the meet. I got Dustin to record my actual kind of lifts on the platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each attempt. I'm going to give you some kind of ideas to like my mindset coming into these lifts, the load selection, attempt selection, and just a general rundown as to how the day went, because it was a really, really fun day of powerlifting. It was quite competitive. It's probably the most competitive flight of powerlifting I've realistically been in regards to I've been in the race of the competition, which hasn't happened all that much before. So it was myself, Mark Galligan, Dermot O'Sullivan, and Sean Amasano. We were all pretty much opening with the same numbers. All of us were opening around 240, 242 in squats. Most of us, except for Mark had a bit of a stronger bench, were opening around 150, and most of us were opening around 270 to 280 on our deadlifts. So it was a really, really tight race, and this race pretty much persisted throughout all the way until deadlifts. So I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to give away how I actually did here, but I had a pretty damn good day. So let's get into lift number 1, which is squats. Best lift in my opinion of the 3. It's definitely the funnest, I would think, because I don't know, there's something nerve-wracking about putting a heavy weight on your back, and yeah, that might kill you. And there's nothing more nerve-wracking than your first squat. So this is 242. So the opening squat is always just to get a number on board. This at one point was my third attempt. In reps. So to hit it as an opening attempt here at this competition, that's some progress I'm pretty damn happy with. You can see there, I smoked it. Now it's important that when you select an opener, you pick something that you are going to be confident that you can hit in pretty much any given day. That 242, I've hit that numerous times over the years. I have hit it for a triple with 2 reps in reserve in the past. So having that as an opener there, it was always going to be something that I could move quite well, and whatever way it moves, it would provide me with something that I could build upon off it. And that's what an opener is meant to do. It's just meant to be a number there to get you on the board, but it should be something that you realistically could probably move for a pretty handy triple or hit on any given day when you walk into the gym. Now after that, the move was to go up to 255. So 255 is a 2.5 kilo, or was a 2.5 kilo competition PB. So my previous best was 252, which I've hit twice. Now, one thing that I want you to pay attention to when it does come to how I'm taking this attempt is pay attention to how long I'm spending wedging myself into the bar, getting myself with the perfect position, having a bar on my back in the spot that feels most comfortable. Pay attention to how long it takes me to really kind of set my brace, right? When I set my brace, I don't wait. I wait until the head referee gives me the down command, or gives me the squat command even. Once the referee gives me the squat command, then I set my brace. So as I wedge myself underneath the bar, get the bar in that spot, under at the bar, minimal walkout, exhale. Once the head judge gives the down or squat command, big inhale into my stomach, feel the belt, and then it's all about kind of moving that bar with as much control and much speed as I can. And you can see there, it was a pretty damn successful lift. Now, as we move into the third attempt. So third attempt on the day for squats, that's the one that puts the fear of God into me. If there's ever a lift of the day, which I look forward to the most, but I look forward to the most when it's over 2, it's got to be squats. Bench doesn't do it to me. Deadlift doesn't do it to me. But once you get to the third attempt squat and you get that done, you get it out of the way, you feel like an overwhelmed, well, I at least feel an overwhelmed sense of relief. The move was to go to 265, which was a 12.5 kilo PB. Best in prep was 260. And yeah, I'm going to just roll 265 and you can see how it moves here. So again, you can see wedge myself in position. I like to do a little bit of a false one rack just to feel the weight on my back before I take my walk out. And as far as third attempts go, it's probably the easiest third attempt I have done. In terms of what I would give that as an RPE, probably give it about an 8.5. I'd say I could probably do another 5 kilos there. Probably another 7.5 kilos at max. And it's nice to leave squats not feeling absolutely fried, because I have a big goal for deadlifts coming up, or a big number that I've been going to hit for a long time, for at least the last 2 competitions. So having that little bit of energy left there on squats did me good. In terms of where the placings are at the moment now, Dermot O'Sullivan, I'm pretty sure he hit 260. Sean Amasano, he had just missed 262. And myself and Mark Gallagher now are both on 265 for squats. We both have the heaviest squats of the competition, which, look, I don't think I've ever been able to say I've had one of the heaviest squats of the competition. So I'm gonna I'm gonna take that accolade any day I can. But now we have to move on to bench. And look, if I'm being completely transparent, bench, this block just hasn't went well. Bench, it's not been a good year overall for bench. I haven't made a ton of progress on it, if I'm being completely honest. Since my competition in April, where I hit 165, but 165 was a PB, and I hadn't. Yeah, but I guess I've been in 160 jail for a long time. I do think part of the reason my bench has sucked so much across the last year is, well, I did a diet. You know, after my last competition, I went from 100 kilos down to like 90 kilos, and I don't feel as if my bench fully recovered from that. But also, my application and training on it was probably not the best for a long time. In my building blocks, I was getting too married or attached to weights, and I was constantly overshooting my loads, and hitting grinder weights. Like, I was loading the weight that I wanted, but I wasn't loading the weight that I needed, which ultimately kind of manifested itself in just having a bit of shitty competition here for bench. But look, we won't cry about it too much. We will just kind of look at what the actual lifts look like. If I was going to give you my goals for bench for this meet, my ultimate goal is just to try to meet my old 1RM, which is 165. Give it a shot at least. But the other goal was to not let my bench drop below 160 because I don't think my ego can really take that. So naturally enough, just like the squat, we're going to start off with a light opener, and we are going to start off with 150 kilos, something that I can hit pretty much any day that I walk into the gym. We're using the Eleiko bench in this competition. Eleiko bench, I am not massive fan on, because I do find that the bar pad is just so grippy, and I do like to slide myself up the bench by pushing my traps into the actual bench and pushing my feet against the ground, which allows me to slide backwards, which allows me to get a little bit tighter. And when the pad is too grippy, especially with the likes of the Eleiko, it kind of it's so grippy that it grabs you, and it doesn't allow you to almost like slide backwards, because it just catches you so well. So you have to really kind of pick your spot where you're going to feel the most stable, and almost not rely on the ability to slide up the bench, because it's just not really something you can do with that bench. So yeah, 150 moves well, but then after that, the call was, right, look, I said to Lawrence, I'm going to go up to 160. I know that if I went 157, I might have a better shot at 162, but I just don't want to drop below 160. So if I hit 157 and then the call to go up to 162 doesn't work out, that's me kind of not meeting the minimum standard, right? I think that's really important when you come into a competition, is to have some minimum goals for yourself as to what would define a successful day. So for me, it's the least, the minimum standard that I would have liked to have met for this competition was 7 for 9 from an attempt standpoint. A minimum standard would have been hitting 255 in squat. Minimum standard would have been hitting 160 on bench. Minimum standard probably would have been hitting 295 on deadlifts. So that was my minimum standard. So I've already kind of hit well above the minimum standard on my squat. We'll see how it goes on the likes of the bench. But let's roll my second attempt, and then we can see, okay, was I going to hit my minimum standard or my maximum standard? So my maximum standard would have been to hit 165, but this said 162. This said 160 moved. Sorry, not 162. So the bar felt nice and light when I unracked it. It's really fast off my chest, but you can see that little bit of grindiness towards lockout. My bench, it misses hard at lockout. The good thing about the amount of benches that I've missed over the years is that I am really in tune with what an RP10 feels like for me, or what 9.5, 9 even feels like, right? My bench press can look really, really fast off the chest and look like I could press a big weight, but once it comes to lockout, I could be stuck there for 10 seconds or more. After I hit 160, I told Lawrence, I'm not going to do the third attempt. Let's just scratch it. I didn't want to come out for my third attempt at all, because I was there's nothing there. Even though that looked like there could be a little bit more there, I knew deep down that there wasn't. Now, whether that mindset played over now coming into my third attempt and having the defeatist mindset, we'll never know. But we'll have to see how the third attempt went first before we kind of make any call. So, third attempt, 162.5. This is my third time taking this weight in competition. So yeah, you can see just how close it gets to lockout. It's literally like, I have videos on my phone of me spending like 10 seconds at that lockout period. And yeah, I just didn't even bother to grind it out. It would like for 2.5 kilos, I don't think it would have been worth it for my total realistically, because I hit my minimum goal. I wasn't expecting to get the 162, and look, it's just back to the drawing board with that one. Like I've already had a call with John, my coach, to establish a plan to help me kind of continue to build that portion of the lockout. What we kind of decided, and this is based off previous training blocks that we do have, is that when I utilize the likes of a board press, when I utilize the likes of a slingshot bench, more banded bench press, and a lot more tricep work, lo and behold, my triceps respond better. We didn't have any of that in the last peaking block or even in the last build. But any of the blocks where my pressing strength has been the best, those things have been in the block. So there's something about those movements, whether that's just like having more specific work in that top end range of motion and training that more versus the bottom end range of motion, that could be it. It seems to work, and it seems to get my bench press to respond quite well. And as well, with a board press or a slingshot, I get to handle heavier overall weights more often because of the overload nature of both board press, restricting range of motion, and as well with the slingshot, allowing you to overload the triceps a little bit more. So something about that seems to work for me, and it could potentially be worthwhile adding into your plan if you also suck at lockout. Then we are onto the fun part. So we're on to deadlifts next. Now, deadlifts in prep have been going really well. If you watched the last video on the taper, I talked about how I have changed my deadlift technique to allow me to use my legs more and hinge into the bar more, to pull more slack out of the bar. And it really paid off coming into deadlifts, because this competition, probably the best that my deadlifts felt in terms of like how strong I felt, but also how efficient my pull felt. So I'm gonna just play the attempts. I'll provide some commentary as we're going through them. But yeah, look, this has been the best competition for my deadlifts thus far. So let's have a look. So this is 270 for my opening attempt. A lot of talc on the legs there to get the bar to slide up them nice and easy. Hinge to the bar, slack pull, boom. Nice and easy, 270. So the plan after that, make it 15 kilo jump. So I typically like to take bigger jumps on deadlift. Being at the end of the meet, it's something that I do like to use for my athletes too. Give bigger jumps towards the end of the meet, considering that if you take smaller jumps, the same way that you might with the likes of a squat, you might fatigue yourself a little bit too much. I find most people do better with having bigger jumps and deadlifts relative to having the same level of jumps on the likes of their squat. Do find if I have a bigger jump from one attempt to the next, I'm preserving more energy for that top end weight, right? All I have to do with the deadlift is pick the thing up and put it down. No, it's still obviously high stress, but it's not as high stress as it would be if I went from doing like a 20 kilo jump, 30 kilo jump on the likes of a squat attempt to attempt. I'd feel the difference or magnitude of difference between attempts there much more if they're bigger jumps. Whereas like with deadlift, it almost kind of feels like you're just continually warming up to that top end weight. So before we get into the final deadlift, I want to give you a rundown as to where the competition is just at this moment. So far, we've gotten through the squats. Myself and Mark have the top squats of the competition. When we come into bench, I hit 160. I believe Dermot O'Sullivan hit 155. Sean Amasano hit 165. And Mark pulled away with a nice 175 bench. So Mark is now 15 kilos ahead of me on the bench and 15 kilos ahead overall. So coming into deadlift now, we still had a pretty tight race between the four of us, if we're being completely honest, because deadlifts can change everything. There's only like maybe a couple of kilos between a lot of us. So Dermot O'Sullivan, myself, Sean and Mark, we all opened at around 270 to 280. So I hit 270 there, as you saw. Dermot O'Sullivan, he managed to miss his opening pull or on a technicality, so I don't think his shoulders are back. but he had the bigger pull out of a lot of us. So he ended up having to retake 280 as his second attempt and 300 on his third. Then Mark had his nationals qualification in the bag. He also had the competition realistically in the bag, so he dropped his final deadlift attempt to 295. So Mark finished the competition on a 735 total. And then coming out for the second last deadlift of the competition was myself. And this is how it went. So this is a massive milestone pull for me. So this is 300 kilos. Second time I've attempted this. And this is to pull into second place and secure my spot. There we have it. 300 kilos. Huge milestone. And that's a 20 kilo total PB in the bag. Now, coming out after me was Sean Amasano. He did miss his third attempt of 307.5. He missed at the knees, and I believe at the time I thought he was just trying to knock me off second, but apparently he's just trying to get the national qualification, which I didn't realise was 727, and I hit 725 as my total. But I don't intend on doing nationals anyway, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. That day finished off with me hitting the 725 total, second overall in the 105 kilo weight class. But I managed for the first time ever to snag best lifter of the competition, which I don't think is ever going to happen again. Well, it could. I'm not going to say never, but it's the first time it's ever happened. So the way powerlifting works, if you're not familiar, is when you are competing in weight classes, weight class is based off total. So that's the way I was scored in the weight class. So that's why I came second. So Mark did 735, I did 725. But when it comes to the end of the competition, they'll do a best lifter for male and female, which is determined by the formula. So they use GL points. So that put me at 92.38, which put me as the number one ranked lifter pound for pound of the entire competition, which is it's a nice little accolade, but it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But as I said, I will not be doing nationals in 2025, even if I do get an invite somehow, and I will be doing another IPF competition this year to try to get one. My next competition is going to be the ABS Series 21, which is the same weekend as the Clash of the Titans 3, which is going to have John Hack, Colton Engelbrecht, Nicholas Dupreez, and a load of other fucking huge strong dudes competing on the same weekend. Justin Zottel, who's a friend of mine from Canada, also the best, strongest powerlifter in Canada, in Canadian history. So he's going to be flying over for 2, as well as some of my friends who I was training with when I was living in Canada. But that's going to be my final powerlifting competition. I'm going to do it in wraps. The goal is to squat 300 kilos in wraps. And then after that competition, it's all about bodybuilding. I'm competing in 2026, and I need to make the transition to get jacked, juicy, and and lean as well, because I'm carrying a little bit of body fat at the moment. So the plan is hit April hard, push the body weight up to about 102, 103. Do my best to get towards that 300 kilo squat. I'd love to give a 700 pound deadlift a crack and try get myself up to a 175 bench by hell or by high water, and then I can exit powerlifting feeling pretty damn happy, and then we can transition into bodybuilding, and then we're gonna have about 6 to 8 months of pure bodybuilding training before we even think about dieting and getting ready for the 2026 season. But yeah, that's this meet prep all wrapped up. Hopefully you did enjoy this bit of a recap video, and look, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the prep series for April, where I do my last powerlifting competition for what is probably going to be until 2027. So yeah, thanks for following along, and I'll catch you in the next one.